Hey everybody, welcome to the Creek Week.
Creek Week.
Which is everything top of mind at Allen Creek Community Church. And
we're talking about your favorite thing next to
my favorite thing.
Next to preaching Revelation.
It's donuts.
It's
That's my
talking
favorite
about
thing.
donuts or money.
Hey, you might have noticed there was no donuts in church on Sunday. Dan?
Well, yeah,
Did you notice that?
for our tens of viewers who actually attend here, there weren't any donuts, and there've been donuts here for a while.
So what is going on?
Well, we're in what we call a budget frost.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Which is not a budget freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Budget freeze would mean we can spend no money.
That's right.
A budget frost means we have to really severely cut back on ministry expenses just because the budget is so pinched right now. So we've got to look at, well, if we look at it like a household budget, we've got...
hard costs?
Yeah.
Soft costs?
Yeah, what's the other term? What kind of spending?
Discretionary.
Discretionary spending. So there's stuff, it's like in my house, it's like whether I can get lunch at the Thai restaurant a couple times, you know? So when things get tight, I don't have to, I can bring lunch from home.
Right.
And so Thai lunches go away. And so things like donuts for us, when the budget gets tight, that goes away. Our different ministries, we have subscriptions to certain internet services.
Right.
Like there's a music charting service. It's good to have but we don't absolutely need it, so we get rid of that.
Right.
Some other things. So we're in a budget frost.
Yep.
And the donuts went.
Right, and so I guess what that shows is that there are, for us, discretionary areas of the church budget that can be done without, like Dan says, but they do affect us. Like I remember, it was just this Sunday, we had several people notice that the donuts were missing.
You lot are food motivated.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good thing to bring to everybody's attention at AC3 that. When we have to pull back, obviously things are curtailed. I mean, it's not like the kingdom of God is coming on our donuts, but it does serve a need. It's a function of warmth, I think. That's
hospitality.
It's hospitality, and so it has a kingdom motivation. So just so you guys know kind of globally how the budget works, I mean, we have a projection at the beginning of a year. Our budget cycle runs July through June, and we say, based on giving trends or whatever, this is about what the church's income will be month to month. And it sometimes trends above that, and sometimes it trends below that, and this year it has trended below the projection, and that's what's causing this. So we're just committed to running this budget really always in the black. Your church is never going to run in the red. We do have a savings backstop that your board has wisely built over the years. So when cash flow does this, we have a backstop. But the board wants to stay ahead of trends, and this is just a good nod to you guys. I mean, we want you to be informed. And so we'll also talk about this at the announcements, that you should know when your church is in a budget freeze. Because frost, you can be prayerful about that, and that your own giving habits might be informed or challenged by just the knowledge of it, right? Because we know how it goes. Like Dan and I are givers. We give to the church, and we understand that the principles of giving generously and giving regularly, giving off the top, those are three that I can think of, are difficult. And so sometimes we slide in and out of our devotion to them. And maybe that's something for you to look at. We've actually looked at this in the past, Dan, and we've said, well, we have X number of regular givers, but then we say, how many have been able to give like every month, like where we kind of see that? We don't, by the way, know any names. We don't associate any names with numbers. That's not what we do. We just crunch just data points. And so what we found was an interesting thing that though some people struggle the most with how much they give, what we found was a secondary challenge that would actually be so helpful to the church's general financial projections and operating would just be regularity, right? No increase in what you find to give to God's purposes in the world, but just doing it all the time.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is, as a staff member that I face, and I think our board of directors who manages the finance they face, is not knowing, what's coming. And it's like, if we knew, if at the beginning of a budget cycle in July 1st, and we said, here's the amount of money absolutely guaranteed okay, great. We'll work with that. But it's like, well, here's what we think it's going to be, and then it's a little bit of like,
yeah,
what's going to happen? Because generally, after 30 years, there's a very predictable cycle, though this is a little different, where it tends to be low, and then as we get through the year, it becomes average, and then it will kind of correct itself towards the end. And but you never know, and this year's a little different. So it's regularity is a really important thing, I think.
Yep. So bringing this to your attention, and we really just want the whole giving thing to be just part of the regular diet of teaching that we do around what a disciple does, right? It just is, we're generous with God's work in the world, and that takes many forms, but for our household, I think for yours too, Dan, it's like a big piece of that is just we give to the place that feeds us spiritually, and that's this place. So you should know that that's where we're at, and we get it. Inflation is just crazy, and there are all sorts of financial pressures on everybody. So that's the state that we're in, and we're being very prayerful about it, and hoping that we'll come out of the frost, Dan.
Yes, and I would also just add, we forget to mention this sometimes, that we're an open books organization.
Yeah.
So if you have detailed questions,
where's the money going?
Yeah, you want to see the books?
Where
come
have
on
you
in.
Spent your dollars.
Yeah, you can see where every penny's accounted for, and it's open to anybody. To come in and look, so you can see exactly where it's going. No secrets here. And I would just say too that it was when I re-entered the church, when I was first kind of confronted with this giving thing. We were obviously, as non-Christians, we were not giving anywhere. And then as we moved along in our discipleship, the question of giving came up inevitably. And well, that wasn't in our budget. And we had, young family and, not rolling in the dough. And so it was a stretch for us. But over a period of time, as we began to realize that this was an act of trusting God. And we realized that our trust in God grew. And that was a really great experience. And then there was a point at which I realized, and I've been living this way now for decades, which is I'm kind of free of worrying about money.
Yeah.
Because the practice of just, it's like a workout. It's like, it hurts a little bit to do those reps or to run that extra mile or whatever, to monitor your calorie intake. But over a period of time, you find that you're free from it.
Yes.
It's like, I can't lift that. Work out for a while, and then suddenly you find you didn't even think about lifting it. Yeah. So that's something that I often return to, is that making a giving practice, not only does it serve the ministry, the things that God has called us to do in the world, but it's a source of freedom for us to not have to worry about it. It's God's problem. Let him sort it out.
Yeah, that's really good. As fasting is to our physical appetites, so our giving is, in some sense, to our spiritual hold on our stuff, right?
So it's a discipleship thing.
It is, yeah. Giving isn't God's way of raising cash. It's his way of raising children. And he is about raising you and me up into full maturity in Jesus.
That was a tight little axiom there. I like it.
Completely derived from someone else.
Absolutely stolen
from someone, I'm sure. So,
if it's only one source, it's plagiarism, but if it's two sources, it's research.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, we did some really quality research for this segment, and Dan, it's not our normal MO on that.
No.
Yeah. All right, we will see you this week as we continue in our series talking about my generation, and we are going to learn some amazing kingdom stuff. See you this week.
Toodaloo.